Back to you.
Thank you, Jill. Good morning, Lauren, and for Dorothy.
Good morning. Even though Dorothy's here, still have a lot of idle stuff.
You know,
just for
Dorothy's
you.
not here.
That's what I said. Isn't here. Okay, is not, whatever.
Okay. All right.
And even though most of the contestants weren't even born by the time the decade was over, it was 80s night on American Idol.
She's on vacation.
She is on vacation.
After
for
a good
while.
night's sleep for the first time in a long time, Lauren is here.
Now, you're like, would you settle down? I got a lot of sleep
I know,
last night.
you're wired. You're wired this morning.
I'm so excited. I'm trying to get everyone pumped this morning. Okay, this is actually, you know, Idol. It's 80s week on American Idol. Very excited about the 80s. Steven Tyler saying, quote, the 80s, well, not so good for me, partially because, well, he really wasn't there for all of it. But I think his girlfriend was born in the 80s, so it can't be that bad. But the final 8 were there for all of it last night. Okay, we're going to start with the girls, beginning with a slightly subpar, I would say, performance from Elise and ending with a surprise performance from Skylar. Oh, those songs bring back memories. Do you guys remember the 80s?
No,
Oh my gosh.
I wasn't around then, but I hear it was
Yes.
Oh, it was so good. Okay, when I
Foreigner
come back.
song, and then you got Flashdance.
good.
and
Flashdance.
It makes you go through
I was
all
saying,
your...
Flashdance is the one song, if they played 50 years from now, you know exactly when it's from, right?
Yeah.
I love the 80s. Oh my gosh.
See, I think because Lauren and I grew up in the 80s, those songs are so reminiscent. Like, it's like, oh, I remember
May I make a comment here to two
when I
of
was
you?
doing-
Do not talk about the 80s.
I know the both of you very well, and neither of you grew up in the 80s.
We did not grow up in
Well,
the
if you're-
80s.
We were both born in the 60s. You grew up in the 70s?
I was not really born in the 60s.
Shut up.
I was
You were
there
born
for
in
like I was
69.
there for a couple of weeks. I
You
just
were
wanna
born in the
say.
60s, so the plot
I was only there for that. Does not count if you're only there for like 2 weeks. What?
The two of you haven't grown up. That's
But wait
all
a
I
second.
meant.
But if you, okay, so
What?
your childhood is spent in the 70s, but
Yeah.
for me, my coming of age, I guess,
Next
were
year.
the 80s.
My
I was
coming
like
of age
12,
was the
13,
90s,
14.
I think.
Well, I'm still waiting.
Well,
for
first of all, your coming of age was earlier than other people's, so you can...
Okay, I love the 80s and the boys that were born in it. Let's come on.
and you know the good thing about boys who are that young?
They keep making them.
They keep making them.
Okay, thank you, Lauren.
Hey, you guys can follow me on Twitter if you
Why?
want.
Why?
Lauren, the number 2, go.
Okay, yeah, go.
I'm going to get in trouble.
Go.
Okay,
Well,
go.
rattling his door.
Yeah.
Thinking somebody was trying to break in. Fortunately,
That happened to us. The
realized
cops
they were
came to our house, and
Yeah.
then the dog wouldn't stop barking. They're like, shut the dog up. This before we had kids. We're like, because we couldn't shut the alarm off, and they
Yeah.
want to make sure that we live there.
Yeah.
Of course, we had mixed up the passwords, and
Of course, and you panicked.
did I tell you about the guy who said to me the other day?
What?
We were going through a gate, and I was paying my ticket. I go through the gate, and I looked down to get my ticket, and he was in front of me, and my car rolled, and it tapped him. It did not bump, it tapped. I got out, and I was like, oh, oops, sorry, my bad. And he's like,
Yeah.
we better pull around and
Let's exchange. Don't you
hate
information.
that?
Yeah.
So I said to him, gosh, as a decent human, I'm like, dude, I'm taking pictures of your bump. There's nothing. He's like, I know, it's just a formality. And he's like, I'm a huge fan. I get home,
I'm
he
a
filed the
huge
claim.
fan. He filed the
So
claim?
I was on the insurance guy. I go, you know what? This is an abuse of the system. I don't like that. That's absolute abuse of the system.
Maybe.
There was nothing. No, Steve, it wasn't even a bump. It was a tap.
Yeah.
How fast can you go when there's a guard thing? I looked down to get a ticket. It rolled.
But people, they want
Some
sometimes
people are
they want the
litigious.
easy way out. Nuisance litigators, the worst.
What is
But
that? Nuisance
litigators.
Yeah. Oh, I like
yes.
that.
Oh yeah, I'm
And
familiar.
this is a nuisance. Well, we don't know who you are, sir. So
No,
please
but
don't
I
sue
would
me.
say this.
names, I mean-
but he's one who's a fan.
No, let me tell you. Yeah,
He's
this
a
is what my
nuisance
fans
litigator
do.
who's a
like,
fan.
geez, I'd like to see the people who hate me do.
But
no,
they
I
see
didn't
that
exchange
easy-
information. I gave him my information. I didn't even take his because it was a joke. I was like, he's like, I'm not going to do anything. I'm just. It's a formality.
Were you tempted to like say, hey, here's a few bucks and go away?
But even
God, no, I didn't. Even $few bucks, there was nothing. I took a. I have a picture.
But even if
I
he
will show
files
you
a
the
claim,
picture.
like let's say he gets whiplash or what,
Whiplash
he's still
from 0
got to go.
miles
He's
an
got to
hour.
go to all the doctor's
Yeah,
appointments.
but maybe he likes that. I mean, we don't know.
I
but
think he works at
some
the medical
people-
facility
And
because I was leaving
also,
a medical, and I think I saw.
also, Danny, you know, you get a little dent in your car.
There was no dent.
No, I'm just saying, you get a little dent. It's never.
By the way,
$60.
I
right?
did see the one on. There was a side dent. I was like, "That's not me." I go, "That's not me."
Yeah.
I tapped. It was 0. My speedometer didn't even move.
Let
It
me
was
tell
like
you something
tap.
though. Just sometimes you got to just go whatever. That's why you have insurance.
Well, that's what I said to the
That's
lady
what you
yesterday.
got. That's why you have
I
insurance.
said, "Go for it, whatever." I'm not going to.
18th, of course, we're going to get one here as well. NASA working with the Federal Aviation Administration. As I said, I'm just repeating what. Just repeat it again. I just saw they're flying there right
Steve,
now.
it
And back to you,
bears repeating.
Steve. Back to you, Steve. Okay,
Bears
roll
repeating.
through the repeat.
I love
of the
that story.
Thank
Tell
you.
it again.
I
You know who's
was
coming up?
about to. Yes.
You know who's coming up on our show today? The
What?
beautiful Beverly Johnson,
Yes,
who
and-
was the first African American ever on the cover of Vogue.
1974.
In my lifetime, in our lifetime.
That's right.
74. It just
That's
seems so wrong to me that
Yeah.
kind of, not that they blatantly were, racist per se, but
Blatantly, that
1974.
is pretty blatant.
Yeah. She's
No,
the first.
I don't think
They
that
just-
in that world they were saying, no, it just wasn't there for them. And then suddenly she's on the cover.
Well, it's always been there. It's if you take it, if you put it out there, then it is what it is. But they were afraid to. I mean, she opened doors for a lot of women.
So if you're afraid to, are you
Beverly
racist?
Peel and Naomi. Yes. If you're afraid to,
Tyra Banks,
yes, you're
all of
racist.
those.
Yes.
Because I found
Yes.
I found the people around that decision in those days were very much unracist.
Okay.
What are you?
are. That's
It was
completely.
everyone who was making the decisions was all white at that time, and
Yeah.
so that's all they put on the cover. So yeah, I do think that is.
That's
Yeah.
what you think, I know.
Yes.
Yeah, I know.
And I stand by
Okay,
that statement.
all right, okay.
But you know, because if you're saying, oh, an African American, no, we can't put them on the
Doesn't
cover because they
sell.
won't sell copies,
Yeah.
then you are racist.
I make the distinction
Yeah.
because I lived through all of that stuff between people who didn't fight it as opposed to people who didn't want it.
See, I would
those
be,
are two different things.
I would have been a social activist. I would have been right there beside
Of course you would. Of course you would.
all of those people marching because equality is equality. What makes one human better than the next?
I'm with you.
Nothing.
Yeah, I'm not personalizing this to me.
You're just saying the old white
yes.
men that were making the decisions then
Weren't racist.
And you know what's
well,
interesting?
a lot of them weren't old white men.
No,
a lot of them were women.
in the
No,
magazine.
no, back then it was
back
all
in the
men.
70s, it was all men. I mean, Helen Gurley Brown was one of the only women.
I grew up around it, and as a matter of fact, the politics of my life still were formed on the basis of the racism of the country. So it's very hard for my liberal tendencies to go away, because I grew up in a world where, when I first went to college in the South, there was a colored drinking fountain and a white drinking fountain. And
they thought that was okay.
nobody thought it was okay. And it was gone finally in a minute after that because the world was changing. But the very fact that I was coming from a place where they didn't have it, although there was a lot of hypocrisy.
Yeah.
But to see a sign that says colored only, whites only in America in the 20th century was shocking, absolutely shocking.
This is shocking to me when I was reading about it. The first African American cover model is in my lifetime for Vogue. That kind of shocked me. I was like, really?
But think about it. That was only 6, 7, 8 years after the colored only, white only. Yeah, think about that.
1974.
Yeah,
But it's
exactly.
not, and I say this with all due respect, but it's not just black and white. Like, I mean,
Well, no, this issue was. This issue was.
That
Yeah.
was. But I mean,
Yeah.
like, I grew up in, my mom didn't want to teach me Spanish because she didn't want me growing up with an accent because she thought that would hurt me. Like,
Look at
she
Sofia
thought it would-
Vergara.
But it wasn't. It just started to change.
Yeah.
Like that. Just so think about that though. Mexican family. My mom's like, don't speak Spanish because I don't want her to have an accent.
It's far more complex than
Wow.
that, because the university that I went to, when I went there, the university was basically integrated at that point, very point. The sports teams were integrated, but there were always Hispanic students. That was never an issue there. It was different there.
Oh well, maybe there. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you know, it's interesting. We had Rachel Roy here, the most beautiful to me. She's she's
Gorgeous,
stunning.
yes.
You died over her.
Yeah, yeah.
And I don't know. I was thinking about Vogue, and I said to her, "Why aren't you on the cover of Indian Vogue?" And I said, "Forget Indian on the cover of Vogue. You know, diversify. You know,
It's
Playboy
still
has
that
been
way. It's
Playboy
still-
has
it's still
been
there.
sort of attacked for not having a lot of women of color. over
Well,
the years.
half likes blondes.
He likes.
Why are you looking at me?
They're not even blonde. They're white.
He
likes
the hair is like
blondes. I
white,
just
whiter than
think
Steve.
I could dye my hair blonde. You could dye. He'd put you on the
pointed
cover.
at me. You pointed at me and said, "Half likes blondes."
Well, you like.
Should I get my robe
no,
and my
you
pipe
love
and my
all
women?
of God's children. I know that.
I like all of God's children.
Yes.
That's exactly right. That's exactly, including this one right here. Are under a lot of pressure not to support something that doesn't allow their CEO to be a member.
I
Do you understand that?
understand that, yes.
I think it's
not
wrong.
who's playing golf on the course. That's not the issue.
I just think it's
Okay,
wrong.
I agree. I see your point.
Okay.
If they
I
give it
hear
to
you.
all
I do hear
CEOs,
you.
Thank
they
you.
should give it to her. Period. Like I get what
And
you're
you
saying.
can't-
I don't want to be a member of a club that doesn't want me either.
This is
but in the
25
bigger
years
picture-
ago. You can't do a thing where women are kept away from the table.
Guess what?
Okay,
Women,
listen,
listen,
exactly.
women
Guess what?
couldn't vote,
Wait a second.
Lauren.
We're
And what
giving
if the
people
women
headaches
didn't?
again. Let's toss to Dorothy.
What if the women didn't fight that? Then we still wouldn't be able to
One
vote.
other point I want to drop in here. I don't know this. This is just me thinking. I think it is entirely possible that he wasn't saying anything
Because?
and she is being offered a membership or an invitation
Possibly.
right now. That's just me.
I-
That's my guess on this
Yeah.
thing. Okay. All right.
I hope so.
Okay.
We'll see.
All right. 7:43.
No, it's not me anymore. You just killed my story. Whoosh. What? I don't even know what it was, but I'm sure it was
Jackie
good.
Kennedy, Secret Service agent, out with a new book, and he talks about that terrible moment in Dallas. Our world did change then, when Jackie Kennedy was climbing over the trunk of the car after the shots were fired. That moment when we come back.
Aren't you good? I'm in such a good mood today. I'm so happy.
Tell us.
Not after that.
Right? I know I have a headache, but I'm still in a good mood.
I know our viewers do.
So we have sent you, Lauren, out on
Yes.
some pretty extreme assignments, but this one's going to top them all.
I'm
She's
so
gonna tell us
excited.
what? I don't know what it is.
I'm so excited.
I know what it is.
I'm excited.
You're not going to talk for an hour?
Let's not get crazy.
Okay, that's too extreme.
Going
huh?
up.
Okay. All right, Lauren, we don't know. What's the big deal?
What? Oh, I'm very excited. I get to be a guest pussycat doll in Vegas.
Is that right?
Yes, so I'm learning the dance now, but I'm going to take the viewer.
That's why you were talking about the pussycat dolls.
Yes.
Robin Anton.
Now, Robin Anton is going to teach me. She's going to start
She's the
next
best.
week. And then I'm going to go to Vegas and take the viewers to all the rehearsals, which will be fun because there's a lot of very pretty girls in that.
Very pretty girls.
And then I
but-
get to perform in Vegas on Friday
So
and
like
Saturday.
the last night you'll perform, you'll dance?
Yes!
Okay.
So excited.
Okay.
May 11th and 12th, so during Sweets, of course, right? That'll be fun. But it's hard. The moves are actually, when you get a little older, moves are kind of hard.
I wouldn't know that.
Funny. But I'm very excited. Robin Anton is I get to be taught by Robin. And Maria Menounos did it. I mean, like.
Gwen Stefani, Carmen Electra, is a Carmen.
It'll be fun. Excited.